that when it comes to social media platforms, it is their responsibility to make sure that when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to the hate that we're seeing.
Hey, what's going on, folks? Is Elon Musk the unlikely hero to beat censorship in America? Will he fall short? Is it all just a show? Let me know what you think in the comments. Today, Elon tweeted, "Apple has mostly stopped advertising on Twitter. Do they hate free speech in America? What's going on here, Tim Cook?" He followed up with, "Apple has also threatened to withhold Twitter from its App Store, but won't tell us why. This is what Apple did to Parler and Gab and tried to ruin both of those companies because they wouldn't bend the knee to big tech left-wing censorship. Insane." Elon also said, "Did you know Apple puts a secret 30% tax on everything you buy through their App Store?" When someone mentioned that there's a 30% tax for app developers who make over $1 million through the App Store on an annual basis, then someone said, "Just finished my podcast, what did I miss?" And Elon said, "A revolution against online censorship in America." Is Elon really waging a revolution against online censorship in America? Today he also said the Twitter files on free speech suppression, soon to be published on Twitter itself. The public deserves to know what really happened. Wow, we're gonna talk about that, a few new Kanye clips at the end, and now let's listen to the US government Biden administration saying what they think about what Twitter's doing.
This is a critical moment, really, in terms of ensuring that Twitter does not become a vector for misinformation. I mean, are you concerned about Elon Musk says there's more and more subscribers coming online. Are you concerned about that? And what tools do you have? Who is it at the White House that is really keeping track of this?
So look, this is something that we're certainly keeping an eye on. And look, we have always been very clear and that when it comes to social media platforms, it is their responsibility to make sure that when it comes to misinformation, when it comes to the hate that we're seeing, that they take action, that they continue to take action. Again, we're all keeping a close eye on this. We're all monitoring what's currently occurring, and we see it with our own eyes of what you all are reporting, and just for ourselves what's happening on Twitter. But again, social media companies have a responsibility to prevent their platforms from being used by any user to incite violence, especially violence directed at individual communities, as we have been seeing, and the president has been very clear on calling that out. He'll continue to do that, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation. Go ahead, Phil.
Interesting stuff. Now, before we start the live stream, I just wanted to post this Telegraph article where Netherlands is going to close up 3,000 farms to comply with the EU's rules. In the article, they talk about nitrogen being a pollutant, when if you remember from science class, it's actually an element on the periodic table. We'll discuss this stuff live. The show starts now.
It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles. It's the Dream Rare Podcast. Welcome to the show. The way to get the news at the desk or on the road. Let's go. God is great and success in our control. The world is crazy, but we get better from obstacles.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Dream Rare Podcast live stream today. We're going to cover the Apple App Store, Elon kind of beefing with them publicly and what it might mean, because this isn't a new topic, but when you have a billionaire who now owns Twitter, who has perhaps the biggest platform on earth, Elon's one of the most famous and well-heard people, when he speaks, it's like everywhere. It's like a national news story. He's bringing to light something that's been important for a long time. So I want to say this, whether you love Elon Musk, whether you hate him, whether you think he's a lie, that's all good. I'm not trying to police and have a monopoly on people's thoughts or anything. So I think the truth can be somewhere in the middle and you can feel how you feel. So I just want to get that out of the way, because Elon's one of these characters where if you ever say you agree with something he's doing, people freak out and they're like, "Oh, you want a computer chip in my brain," or "You must believe we went to Mars last year." It's like, listen, I'm going to just cover the topic and you can feel how you feel. I'm not trying to control your thoughts and your beliefs. With that being said, he easily could have not talked about this. He could have just let this go by the wayside and nobody would have cared about it. So I consider what he's doing, in my perspective, good, because, when Parler, I think it was after the election of Trump. I don't exactly remember what happened, but they do this double standards game with Parler and Gab and other apps that they can't control and say, well, there was this group doing bad things on your app. Do you know that there have been shooters and terrorists who have used Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, done live streams on mainstream platforms? So this idea that when something bad happens and someone uses a Facebook live stream to commit a crime, Facebook doesn't get shut down or anything, but Parler and Gab, the media and Apple and a lot of these left-wing tech companies, etc., use that as an excuse to strong-arm people and kick them off the App Store. I know Parler got kicked off the App Store and it completely destroyed their momentum. Gab.com got kicked off the App Store and then he rebuilt to be on that or off the App Store and still kind of operate. I still use Gab a little bit. I like the CEO a lot, at least his principles and what he seems to stand for. He seems like the real deal. And now they're trying to do it to Elon Musk and Twitter because Twitter won't follow their rules. Now, which rules is he not following? What part of what they're doing? They have these whole set of rules that they roll out for everybody and say, listen, if you don't consider this hate speech and you don't consider this hate speech and you don't consider this hate speech and you allow your company to operate more along the lines of First Amendment American constitutional principles, then we're going to kick you out of the App Store. We're going to press you with advertisers and try to pull all the money off you and get all these groups like the ADL and everybody to just start, beating down at you. And, they're trying to pressure and bully you and in some cases financially restrain you to the point where you have to follow those rules. And like Elon Musk said to Tim Cook and to Apple, do you hate the American, I don't remember the exact tweet, but something along the lines of, do you hate free speech? They do hate free speech. And this is the problem. I don't know how the monopoly laws work and if Apple is truly a monopoly based on the books. I know they're getting pretty close with the App Store. Perhaps someone else could build a new phone. Elon said he might consider it if they keep doing this. But, I think they've met a match that's a lot bigger than just Gab or Parler because Elon has a lot of money, a lot of power, and he bought one of the biggest apps. And, he doesn't seem like he's backing down that much either. So I wish him well. I hope he gets away with it. And I think whether you like him or trust him or not, this is an important topic. And, one of the ways they control us, and the left wing especially, has gotten way too comfortable with this idea that the First Amendment isn't as good as what they do. The First Amendment in America is so important. It's not, perhaps nothing in this world is perfect, but this idea that you can quash speech and say that it's hate speech. I could hate what you say. You could hate what I say. Let's not go down that path. I want to play this clip really quick because it's interesting that it fits into what I've been talking about over the last couple of weeks. And it just shows you how the left wing goes insane and the right wing pretends like they're fighting for us and they fight against us. So just like I just explained, Gab.com got kicked off of the Apple App Store because they wouldn't cave to left-wing speech censorship. And they said that they were going to operate their app under the guise of the First Amendment. The First Amendment doesn't protect everything, but it does protect social, political, and, edgy opinions on stuff. So Gab allows it. Once they got kicked off the Apple App Store, you would think that Governor Abbott of Texas, the conservative, would be on their side and say, hey, I don't agree with all the speech on Gab.com, but we do appreciate that an American Christian conservative owns an app and not some of these people that seem to hate America. That's not what Governor Abbott did. I want to play this clip. He actually tried to kick Gab out of Texas, believe it or not.
Anti-Semitic platforms like Gab have no place in Texas and certainly do not represent Texas values. What does represent Texas values is legislation like this by Representative King and Representative Coburn that fights anti-Semitism in Texas.
He said anti-Semitic platforms like Gab have no place in Texas. What does have a place in Texas is these hate speech laws and rules that all the Republicans are passing that I need to pass. This is who the Republican Party is, folks. This is who they are. I'm not saying it because I hate people. I'm saying it because it's like the number one thing that Republicans do that's hypocritical. As the left-wing tech is beating down on you and saying, you're not allowed to believe in the First Amendment. Gab is not an anti-Semitic platform. It's a platform that's a social media just like Facebook or Twitter. It just censors less than Facebook or Twitter. So just like you could find bad opinions on Twitter and Facebook, You could find bad and good opinions on Gab. It's the same thing, except they operate under the principles of the United States Constitution. I've had the CEO of Gab, and he holds up the Constitution and says, this is my principles on free speech, the American principles. He's a Christian conservative American who owns an app company, not one of these other dweebs that hates our country. And this is what the Republican Party does. And Ted Cruz, this is why I always call out Republicans, because they're basically just controlled opposition at this point. Ted Cruz is like, yeah, Elon's fighting for free speech. You live in Texas, Ted Cruz. What do you think about this? I'm going to play the clip again, and I want everybody to see.
Anti-Semitic platforms like Gab have no place in Texas and certainly do not represent Texas values. What does represent Texas values is legislation like this by Representative King and Representative Goldman that fights anti-Semitism in Texas.
Yeah, because they need to fight hate speech in Texas by banning a Christian conservative-owned app that literally operates under the First Amendment. I hate to break it to them, but the First Amendment, you're going to have takes that are bad, that are biased. You're going to have social, racial, and political opinions that you don't agree with, but the beauty of the First Amendment is then you can actually say what you believe. And usually, in a free market, I believe good ideas, good companies will usually succeed over bad ones. And especially over time, no matter how much you lie, the truth lasts forever, in my opinion. I'm somebody that started with no money, nothing, and I've been able to compete with some of the biggest corporations. So I've seen the American dream is true. If you allow people the freedom to work hard and, climb the ladder, it's possible. I've been a living success, but Governor Abbott knows better. And he's condemning apps that are kicked out. This is the type of stuff, this is why I talk about all that stuff, because nothing gets done in this country because it's usually like a joke. It's like, well, we're doing this, we're doing that. On the topic of Elon Musk, real quick to wrap it up, and then I'm going to get to a few of these clips I liked and some other stuff. I understand why people don't trust Elon Musk. He's a multi-billionaire. Some people look into his family history and think he's a plant. Others disagree with what he's doing in space, and they think it's just completely fake. Some people, I would say, think Elon is like, some people think he's the Antichrist. I mean, everybody has an opinion. I don't have to go through all of them, but you get it. And then also people don't like the fact that he seems to be like a technocrat leading towards the merging of humans and computers. All of those are valid concerns. I'm not downplaying it. I'm just trying to weigh out everything and analyze it. From that note, with Kanye, it's the same sort of thing. It's like, this guy's a billionaire. He's married to Kim Kardashian. Now he's a Christian. Now he's hanging out with Nick Fuentes and Mila. Like, nothing really makes sense. And because of that, in my opinion, it's like my most favorite timeline. I love what's going on. I think it's hilarious. Not everything in the world, don't get it twisted, but this like Kanye stuff and Elon crushing it on Twitter, I like it. Do I think Elon is always going to do what I want him to do? No. Do I know what he's doing completely? Absolutely not. Do you have the right to not trust him or like him? Sure. But in my perspective, what he's doing with Twitter is great. I mean, I think he's doing a good job with Twitter. I think he's fired a lot of employees. He's going to take all the speech suppression that they did at Twitter and make it public. Easily, he could have not bought Twitter, rode off into the sunset, talked about carbon tax, pretended to go to Pluto or whatever, and he could have easily just done that. He didn't have to do this. He didn't have to buy Twitter. He didn't have to fire a bunch of annoying employees. He didn't have to expose the speech suppression. He doesn't have to beef with Tim Cook. He doesn't have to respond to the Hodge twins and a bunch of people. I like him. I don't want this to get misconstrued. Well, you must think everything he's doing good. No, I don't even personally believe a lot of stuff that he's doing. I find it very, unbelievable, for lack of a better word. But I take it issue by issue, and also I'm not like putting my whole stake in this guy's life. I just try to be grateful and appreciative, and I appreciate the fact, with all the money and power that he has, that he's taking on an issue that's been an issue in this country for 4 or 5 years, which is the Apple App Store, and he's taking it front and center to a place that Trump, Gab, and Parler didn't seem to be able to do. And in a weird way, I almost trust him more than these people, not because I trust everything he does, but I don't know, actions speak louder than words, and he's doing action. He didn't just say, I'm going to buy Twitter and then not buy. He really bought it. He really fired the employees. He really is going to publish speech suppression. he's really taking it to Apple. He's really publishing the truth. I mean, even if tomorrow he lives a lie and everything else is fake, I'll be like, damn, okay. But it seems like he's gonna do some stuff. And a lot of people would benefit that aren't Elon Musk, that are right wing, and I'm sure left wing, but mostly right wing. A lot of people would benefit if he does successfully expose and take on what Apple's been doing. Because I have friends like Bryson Gray, they've banned his songs. I know DC Capital, shout out DC Capital, they've banned, apparently, I didn't know this, but they banned his album. They've been banning songs, they've been banning albums, they've been banning apps. I mean, and when you own an Apple phone, they pretty much have a monopoly on that phone. It's not like there's another app store for your Apple app. I don't know how it works, but I like what's going on. It seems legit, and in my view, and feel free to disagree, but I feel like this is a good timeline. I don't want to get too optimistic, but I feel like a lot of progress is being made, and people are stepping up and really, getting results. That's my take. I'll read some of yours at the end. Real quick before that, I want to play these 2 Kanye West clips, or the artist formerly known as Kanye West, Ye. He's going to be on Tim Pool's show tonight. Very exciting. I want to say, coincidentally, this doesn't really have to do with Ye, but Tim Pool apologized to me the other day. I appreciate that. And he admitted that they made a booking error and they messed up, which I appreciated. That's all I wanted. And I appreciate Tim Pool for having on Kanye West. That's a lot better than Gwen Shapiro, who doesn't seem to ever want to talk to Kanye. So I'm excited for that convo. Real quick, here's this clip of Donald Trump calling Tim Cook Tim Apple.
Into our country. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple.
Those were the days back when it seemed like Trump was crushing and, he was just calling him Tim Apple. I want to play that again. It's pretty funny.
Into our country. We appreciate it very much, Tim Apple. But
he just calls him Tim Apple. Thank you, Tim Apple. Like, you might as well just call him Tim Apple. It's like Tim Cook, Tim Apple. Who cares? I'm going to play 2 clips of Ye. One is of him talking about pornography. It's interesting, his thoughts on that. But the first one, he talks about Trump, and he says, we need Trump to put God first, and then America, and then he says, and then Israel at the end. And I'm like, damn, dude. People who've been watching my stream for years know I've been talking about this stuff for like 3 years now, and everybody's like, nah, that's crazy, you're hateful, and I'm not hateful, but I'm like, it's just such a crazy timeline to have Kanye West, of all people, out here exposing how the Republican Party really works. Whether you like it or not, this is all good to me.
I'm constantly looking to see if someone could do the job better than me. I just haven't found anybody yet. And I think that Trump would be a great president, but he's got to put God first in everything he does. It's God first, then America.
Yeah, maybe that's why God took it away from him.
Then Israel.
Exactly.
He says Trump needs to put God first and America and then Israel. And when you say that, people will say it's anti-Semitic, but it's important. I'm going to play the clip of Governor Abbott again just to drive it through. When the left-wing media destroys your app, and then you're in Texas and you're like, oh, my destroyed app. Then Governor Abbott looks at you with an Israeli flag behind him and says, oh, you're an anti-Semitic social media. What the heck does that mean? Is Facebook a terroristic social media because a shooter uses it to live stream? Are they a racist platform because there's racists who have Facebook? Are you really going to play this game, Governor Abbott?
Anti-Semitic platforms like Gab have no place in Texas.
He's trying to kick an entire social media app owned by a Christian conservative out of Texas. Do you not think that this is a huge issue? It absolutely is. And Kanye West is absolutely right to call it out. I love what's happening. I pray that Kanye West runs as a Republican in the Republican primary so he can debate Trump. What Trump is trying to do is get everybody out of the way, DeSantis, Trump, just so he could put on a little show and do nothing again. We know what you're doing, bro. We see it. It's okay. Me and Ye, we don't hate you. We like you. We voted for you. I don't know if Ye voted for you. He probably voted for himself in 2020, but you get what I'm saying. We don't hate you. We just want you to put God and America first and stop overriding the principles of free speech like Tim Apple, who you sat with. That's not cool anymore. With that being said, I just want to play one more clip. Actually, I'm going to play this clip real quick before that, and then I'm going to play the other Ye clip. But this is a clip that I made for Instagram, and I've been telling people about the food industry. It's a little bit of a tangent, but you know, the food industry in America is really corrupt. So I got sponsored to do this video. And my sponsor at the end of the video, they didn't ask me to put this on Facebook. I'm not doing it, or YouTube. This wasn't part of the deal. I'm just doing it because I like the content of my video, and I appreciate the fact that they allowed me to, not that they can allow me to say it, but they inspired me really to say it. Like, here, if you promote our video, you know, just make something that you want to do. I had 100% creative control, and this is the message that I've been trying to tell people about food in America. Here it is. Why is it easier to get drugs in this country than it is to get raw milk? Did you know that only 13 states allow the sale of raw milk in retail stores? 13. Yet titanium dioxide, which was banned from the European Union recently, is available in thousands of products that they sell in all 50 states. And there's new lawsuits claiming that that ingredient is unfit for consumption. Now, for a country that loved to enforce lockdowns and mask mandates, you have to wonder why our food quality seems a lot worse than most of the world. A large portion of the supermarket is filled with ingredients, food dyes, flavor enhancers, and hormones that are illegal all over the world. New York Times reported that brominated vegetable oil is used in drinks like Mountain Dew and some sports drinks, but it's banned in Europe. They seem to think it leads to memory loss and skin and nerve problems, but the FDA says it's safe in limited amounts. Also, the European Union banned some drugs that they use in farm animals like bovine growth hormone, which the United States dairy industry uses to increase milk production, and the drug ractopamine, used to increase weight gain in pigs. The European Union says risks to human health cannot be ruled out, but an FDA spokesperson says the drugs are safe. Why do you think they're more concerned about regulating raw milk than they are with all of these other ingredients? And a special thank you to Good Ranchers at goodranchers.com for having some of the best chicken I've ever tasted, really juicy steaks, made and raised in the United States, antibiotics free, no hormones ever, and a company that's willing to sponsor me to put out this message with no censorship and complete creative control. Thank you, Good Ranchers, and thank you for watching my video. I just want to play that. They didn't even ask me to play that on Facebook or YouTube. That wasn't part of our deal, but you know, I'm a loyal person, and if you will pay me and sponsor me you have a good product, you're America made, and also you don't care what I say. They didn't try to censor me and say, don't say that. I'm like, this is what I say all the time anyway. It's what I want to say. They're like, that's fine, that's cool. So I appreciate that. But you know, in this country, it's harder to get raw milk than it is to get drugs. Our country's has been swallowed alive by big pharma. Both the pharmaceutical, you know, pill prescription stuff, like everybody's on those. And a lot of the food, they're even giving drugs to the animals to just jack them up and make them fatter. I understand they have to feed a lot of people, but there's a lot of weird ingredients in America that are legal, that are illegal in other countries. And if you're willing to regulate a lockdown and vaccine socialism where you give them a bunch of money so they can force it down our throats, I mean, maybe it's time to regulate actual food instead of like raw milk. It's a little odd. That being said, I want to play this clip of Kanye West talking about, you know, what he thinks about pornography in America. And then I'm going to read your comments. So right now it's on a little delay while I play the clip. Let me know what you think about Elon Musk taking on Tim Cook and Apple. What you think about the stuff he's saying. He's making Twitter transparent. You know, he's bringing light to this issue of really, he's calling it a revolution of internet censorship. He gets what they're doing to this country, and all signs are leading towards he's fighting it. So I personally appreciate it, but I want to hear your opinion if you agree or disagree. But here's that video I wanted to play real quick.
I told Kim this yesterday. I said, look, any form of perversion is bad in God's eyes. Any form of pornography, like, it tears apart families. It's used to tear families apart. You know, if it's a dad looking at what, you know, Pornhub, he's still looking at somebody's daughter. And a lot of the women that end up in pornography are actually products of molestation. And they're reliving that trauma every time they get on camera. So in Hollywood, people say, okay, this is right, but this is wrong. It's all wrong in God's eyes. And that's where we have to stand up and raise our standards as as leaders, a world leader, we're the youngest country and we're world leaders and we are influencers. And somehow our country has been taken over by, maybe about 300 Zionists.
Yes.
So he says basically, he's like, pornography's not good. Our country's immoral. And he said our country's been taken over by a couple hundred Zionists. He said that outside apparently a church in San Fernando Valley or something. Like he's just pulling up to random churches in Los Angeles. It's going to be really, really interesting. But now I'm going to read your comments. I'm going to say this. I hope that he runs as a Republican. I hope Ron DeSantis runs as a Republican. I hope Trump runs as a Republican. And I hope that Rand Paul run as a Republican, because competition is a good thing. And it's not going to take away votes. That's what the Republican primaries is. Let the person who wins the Republican primary, let them be the nominee. But we need debate and competition in this party. We don't need to just get on our knees and say, oh, go take over the country again. That's not going to work. So I hope that they all run and there's like a serious debate and conversation, because the stuff that Kanye's talking about, wow, people don't understand how important this is. The biggest donors that pay Trump and DeSantis, they're the type of people that Kanye's talking about. Let's just put it that way. So I pray that he's on that stage. I mean, what a amazing time. Let's see. Someone said he needs to run as an independent. I want to see him on the debate stage. That's just my personal opinion, but to each their own. Someone said raw goat milk, the white stuff. I mean, come to Rumble. Facebook sucks. I'm on Rumble, so if you want to watch my Rumble videos, you could watch my Rumble videos after, like 2 hours down the stream, but I don't stream on Rumble. They tried to set me up with the streaming, but, I'm going to just be honest, as far as customer service, Rumble came to me years ago and wanted to do a deal. They stopped hitting me up. Locals is owned by Rumble. They came to me and were trying to do a deal, and then it like fell through last second, and then someone else hit me up from Locals, and then they stopped answering me. So in my opinion, I'm not that. I appreciate Rumble. I use it. I post my videos to there like I do BitChute, but I'm not in a rush to give them my live streaming traffic because they can't even like talk to me properly. So I'm not mad at it or anything. It's just like I've gotten almost 1 billion views, if not, I've reached 1 billion views on Facebook. So if they could take like 10 minutes to actually try to work with me, then I would move all my live stream traffic there. But if they're going to keep like letting deals fall through and ignoring me, then I don't really care that much. I use BitChute. I've never gotten $1 from BitChute, but I've gotten 2 million views on there. I appreciate them. They've always been there for me. So we'll see. Someone said, Anomaly, you were a voice in the wilderness. Now you've talked some sense into Kanye and me too. Well, I don't want to take credit. I don't know that I was the one who told Kanye this stuff. I'm not the only one saying it. Most of what I know, I learned from somebody else, the same way you might have learned from me. I didn't just think of this stuff. It was things I saw and then just started reading and watching, documentaries and stuff. Someone said Rumble has the Died Suddenly documentary. So I've heard. I'm sure that's driving a lot of traffic there. Let's see some other comments. Do your Seth Rogen impression, please. I forget my Seth Rogen impression. I don't even remember how it went. I just remember it was really funny and people enjoyed it. What was it? I was like, come on, bro. If you're not getting stabbed in LA, bro. Yo, bro, I mean, I've gotten robbed like 10 times, but that's cool. You're like far right if you don't want to get your car robbed. I think it was like something like that. I don't know. It was something along those lines, yeah. Anyway. Where was we? Someone said Ye didn't like when his wife dressed provocatively. Yeah, he definitely got super Christian, didn't like that. Someone said Tate's speech is the only channel I watch on Rumble. Andrew Tate was banned from almost every platform for being, I don't know, too masculine or something. Come on, bro. Seth Rogen here. Come on, Elon. Free speech. What are you, a fascist, bro? Me and Judd Apatow are so funny, dude. My car got broken into like 5 times, bro. And that's cool because I just love
I'm living like a piece of garbage, bro. These damn right wingers with their free speech and Second Amendment to protect themselves. Like, come on, bro. Just move out to the hills with us and get $50 million, bro.
And then like some ladies like, I felt violated when my car got broken into because, I have a son and they're like breaking in and stealing my baby seat. And he's,
come on, bro. What are you, a fascist? Me and Rob Reiner, bro. Smoking herb, dude. Dude, come on, bro. Just
crime is not cool, you degenerates. Crime is like telling people to be okay with people breaking into their cars because that's just how it should be. No, dude.
Hey, come on, bro. It's anti-Semitic to say that it's cool.
It's not cool. You're like, darn it, dude. Sorry, I didn't mean that. Stop blaming everyone for what you're doing. Anyway, someone said Kanye and Fuentes on Timcast tonight. I'm gonna watch it and do a reaction video, I think, because I'm pumped. Listen, Tim has a good work ethic. Obviously, there's been some misfortune and missteps, etc., with the business, but overall, I don't think Tim is really in the business of being like Ben Shapiro. Like Ben Shapiro's not trying to let Kanye talk and calling him like racist. I respect Tim for having him on, and it'll be interesting because I don't know Tim's stance on all this stuff. He doesn't really talk about the stuff that me and Ye talk about, so I'm interested to see how the debate goes because I highly doubt Tim is just going to agree with them. I think it's going to be, any conversation is a good conversation when it comes to like this high level, like let Ye talk. And then where can you watch it? On his YouTube channel? Probably. Anomaly, tell us it was blank that did you dirty. The YouTube comment. Yeah, it was. It was. But I don't want to get into that again. I'm over it. I already talked about it yesterday. Let's see. Someone said the beanie will guide him. Agree. Someone said conversation over debate, said Mr. Xavier. I agree. I always go into stuff trying to, we talked about this a little yesterday too. Even if I disagree with someone, I'm going to go into the conversation with good energy, trying to respect them and appreciate them. Even if I debated, Ben Shapiro, I started nice, but then, if it gets into a debate and there's things you disagree on, things will turn. People asked if I talked to Eddie Bravo or when we were talking. I saw that at the beginning. I was on his podcast. I don't know when it comes out, but it's going to be on his like Spotify or Apple. I don't really know where he posts his podcast. Maybe there's a video. We did a video, so I don't know where it goes, but with Eddie, he's a super nice guy, and I like him, he likes me, so it was good. But there were parts where we disagreed. There was definitely a moment where I disagreed, and he was like that. So even if you're having a conversation, which is fine, you're not always on the same page with people, and it's okay, even if you're if you like someone to disagree with them and debate a little. Let's see. I'm going to read some comments. Someone said Ye's got enough money for a lawsuit. Yeah, but not if they're going to sue him like Alex Jones. They're like, Alex Jones owes $1 trillion. It's like, calm down. Could you possibly be any less likable? Like, okay, everybody feels bad for you if you're a parent that went through tragedy, right? But now you're suing for $100 million, $1 billion. It's like you're starting to be very... it's like, did the guy who actually killed people, did he get sued, to that extent? It's like they're suing Alex Jones more than they're suing the person who did the thing. Isn't that a little weird? But you're not allowed to say it's weird. Speaking of not being able to question parents from a tragedy, what was up with the guy from the Q Club shooter? The dude's dad looked or sounded like a meth head. He's like, oh yeah, my kid's not gay. Oh yeah, my kid's not gay. He's a Republican. Oh yeah, it's like, red flag. Like, oh, but you're not allowed to question him because his son, like, I'm not even going to really cover that because I don't really know what's going on, but I saw the Twitter video of the dad of the shooter, and he's just like methed out, saying like, oh, my son's a Republican, I'm glad he's not gay. Like, is that what anybody does? Like, they just act like a meth head and they're like, oh yeah, my son's a Republican, he's a Republican, he's a Republican, he's not gay, he's not gay, I'm glad he's not gay. It's like, that seems really authentic and not drugged up. Like, yeah, but you're not allowed to question that because he wasn't like, are you allowed to, whatever. You know, I don't know what the dynamic was there besides, yeah, it was some tweaky energy. And here's my personal opinion. If you're telling the truth and your son's a Republican and he's not gay or whatever, like, there's a way to go about that and be believable. Like, oh, your sons are, but like when you say it so many times, like that's the like narrative, like, oh my, like, it just seemed very either drugged out or fake, in my opinion. I'm not saying it was fake. I'm just saying, like, it would be like, hey, did I mention Republican? It's like, okay. I want to show you this real quick because I don't know if you saw, this guy named Vaush responded to me on Twitter, and I think I had a good response, so I'm going to show you. You know, Kanye did that video that I just showed you where he said to Trump, he said, you know, we like Trump, but we need him to put God first and then America and then Israel. I just want to show you what Vaush responded to my tweet on that, and he said, I wonder why he had a problem with Israel specifically. You know, he's probably trying to say Kanye's anti-Semitic or a Nazi. I don't know his angle. But I said this. I said Republicans are hypocrites who passed hate speech laws for Israel that go against their entire no safe spaces free speech ideology. Left-wing college speakers have been canceled for criticizing Israel. You can play dumb about who controls Republicans if you want, though. So I think that was the perfect response because Vaush is left-wing. He's trying to be like, oh, why does Kanye talk about Trump and Israel? And I said, because that's what they do. That's who controls it, you know? And it's funny because left-wing speakers have literally been censored on college campuses because of Trump's Israel executive order. It doesn't make you a hateful person to be like that. If all these politicians are passing speech laws for a donor class and you talk about it, that's why he's mentioning Israel. If Republicans didn't constantly do things for Israel over the American Constitution and kick out Gab and try to pass executive orders, no one would be talking about them. It's not like I wake up and think about a country in the Middle East. I don't care about, you know, other countries. I don't hate other countries like that. With that being said, we don't talk about it more because we hate them, or I can't speak for everybody but myself. It's because that's just who seems to be controlling the Republicans. It's like if Democrats passed a bill that said you can't criticize China. You can't criticize China. You can't criticize Chinese people. You can't say that, you know, China's a bad country. You can't say that Chinese people work for China. Like, imagine if Democrats passed a bill like that. And then I was like, hey, are you guys working for China? And they're like, geez, look at this racist. You must hate Chinese people. Like, that's what the Republicans do with Israel and Jewish stuff. They do all that stuff and say, geez, how good. And Ben Shapiro's like, oh my God, listen, okay, listen, let's be reasonable, okay? Let's be reasonable, okay? I know I talk about Israel every week on my show, okay? I know I hang out with Netanyahu, okay? I know I fly to Israel and do speeches there, okay? I mean, I'm super Jewish. Everybody knows that, okay? But, like, I don't have any bias toward them, okay? And if you say I'm anti-Semitism, okay? I mean, you're like a Nazism. I mean, this reminds me of the protocol the elders of Zion, okay? I mean, geez, what are you, like, Hitler? Like, come on. You can't lie this way forever. It's the same as Democrats passing laws that say you can't criticize China. You can't say Chinese people work for China. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't say Chinese people own media. You can't say they control this. You can't call them Nazis. Like, all these weird rules. You can't, like, and then you're like, are you working for China? Because if you're passing all these laws for China, like, it's like China loyalty laws, right? Like, there's not even laws in America that say that for America. So why are you passing China loyalty laws? Are you working for Chinese people or China? Oh, geez, oh my God, they're anti-Chinese. Oh my God. Like, it's the same thing. That's why we talk about it. Vaush, okay? I mean, I can't speak for Kanye. He speaks for himself. That's why I talk about it. I don't know who feels what way. But I'll tell you how I feel. Someone said, you lost me. I mean, I don't think I could have been more clear about that, unless I lost you with my fantastic Ben Shapiro impression. Now you seem to think you're funny, said William. I mean, a lot of people think I'm funny. I do think I'm funny. I would even go as far to say I am funny. But it's okay. If you don't think so, it's all good. Some people watch like a comedian that I think's funny, and I'm in the corner and I'm like, did you? And then you look to the side and someone's like has a puss on their face, like, this is the least funny thing I've ever seen. I'm gonna go home and watch SNL. And you're like, I guess we just have different senses of humor. Listen, okay, and nothing's funny, okay? Listen, there's nothing funny in this world. We need to give $2 billion a year to the country that I like, but if you ever say I like that country, that's anti-Semitism, that's rote anti-Semitism, okay? I've had a bevy of people on my show, okay? I'm not afraid to debate. I've had on Sam Harris, I've had on Cenk Uygur, I've had on, right-wing Zionist pastors who agree with me, okay, but, I mean, what Kanye West is doing, I mean, come on, I mean, that's like straight out of like Nazi 101, okay? I mean, when he says Jewish people own media companies, I own a media company, and with my media company, I'm going to censor him to prove that Jewish people are not censoring Kanye West. I mean, come on. I mean, that's rote anti-Semitism. I mean, come on. I mean, what part of my body language do you not understand that says I'm very authentic? I mean, Louis Farrakhan, geez, I mean, he's saying the vaccine is really bad for black people, and I want black people to get the vaccine because, I mean, my wife's a doctor. I mean, come on, geez. I mean, Louis Farrakhan, I mean, what the hell? I mean, you met with Obama, and you're telling black people not to get the vaccine. You don't think that's funny? Come on, stop playing yourself. It's not only funny, it's actually shockingly accurate. If you closed your eyes, you would think you're watching the Ben Shapiro show. Anyway. Where were we? Someone said, what isn't funny is the herd mentality that China can influence American culture. Anyone can influence American culture. And here's a big shocker for the American people that is the opposite of xenophobic. Some of the worst perpetrators of hurting American culture are Americans themselves. So just like China or a foreign country of any sort can influence American society, our own people are beating down on us harder than anybody else, okay? So, and the only reason it works is because people allow it and justify it or ignore it. And the way it changes is people identifying it, stop supporting certain things, and become the change you want to see in the world. When I do the Timcast, do my Ben Shapiro impression, I'll think I should probably do it on Tim's show. I'll be like, listen, thank you for having me. Listen, I mean, Tim Pool. I mean, listen, you wear a beanie all the time, which is fine because I wear a beanie, but my beanie's a little bit smaller than your beanie. I wear Yannicka. It's a small beanie, so I agree with you on that. But from a fundamentally different perspective, I understand you're an atheist, and I'm a Jew. So, but with that being said, you should have never given Kanye West a platform because Kanye's spewing anti-Semitism, and facts don't care about your feelings unless the facts go against my feelings, and then it's hate speech. But I don't believe in hate speech, and my whole identity is saying I disagree with hate speech. But it is hate speech, and hate speech is hate speech, even though my whole brand is basically saying I don't believe in hate speech. It's hate speech. I mean, come on. You're telling me that wouldn't set it off? And then Tim will be like, Anomaly, I don't even know who you are. I've never even heard of you. I mean, but you would have made a better guess because, I know you would have made a better guess because I have no idea who you are. So that's how I know you would have been a better guess. Like, okay. Anyway. Who threw that? Someone said, bro, they are trying to destroy America. What do you mean by they? What is what? I'm Jordan Peterson. It's like, philosophically, I can't do Jordan Peterson that well, but he's like, who do you mean by they? What do you mean by what? What do you mean by who? Who do you mean by who? You're like, dude, forget it, bro. I'll just go to dinner by myself. You want to go to dinner, Jordan Peterson? What do you mean by do? What do you mean by dinner? What do you mean by you? I'm like, forget it, dude. I'll just order Uber Eats or something and, just work on my book. He's like, fundamentally, I don't do a good Jordan Peterson, but I'll work on it. Who do you mean by who? What do you mean by what? Dude, that clip is the funniest clip. And then people got so mad at me for sharing it. They're like, cheese and omelet. I'm like, yo, if you're trying, and then people made me do like an hour more of research because I want to be accurate. And I'm going through all these clips and they're like, dude, you're wrong. Like that you took that out of context. So I had to watch this whole freaking thing and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I watched it in full context, and it didn't make any more sense. It was the funniest thing ever. They're like, do you believe in God, Jordan Peterson? He's like, it depends what you mean by do. What do you mean by God? What do you mean by believe? And what do you mean by do? What do I mean by do? I'm talking about dog poop, Jordan Peterson. Do. When I say, do you believe in God? I'm talking about doo-doo, doggy doo-doo. So doo-doo, you believe in God. I know it doesn't make any sense because I'm a rapper. No, dude, do. Come on, bro. And people are trying to make excuses for that. I understand the word God and believe can mean different things to people. But, do is pretty standard. There's not that much. There's not that much to really go. But he doesn't want to say, I don't believe in God. So he's just got to pretend like he's got to go on like a 50-minute rant about what the word do means. It's like, dude, just forget. And like even the Muslims were like, haram. They're probably thinking in their head, haram, whatever. Next question, this guy. What is the letter D? What do you mean by D? D? You want a D? You're like, dude, come on. This is a kid. I missed the point of that video. Cry harder about the part I was talking about. Here's one you could tell Jordan Peterson if you like. He did a message to the Muslims and he did a message to the Christians. It's a beautiful thing because Jordan Peterson needs to tell the entire Christian faith what to do. I mean, the Christians want to listen to Jordan Peterson, So he had the audacity to do a message to Christians. Like any good Christian gives a crap about what Mr. Second Amendment supporting, vaccine taking, then crying about it, 2-year pill binge has to say about our entire religion that he doesn't believe in. Yeah, thanks for your opinion. And then he had a message to Muslims, which I watched. I watched the Christian one and the Muslim one was way more condescending, way more douchey, way more blaming them for stuff with Jews or whatever. So a message to Christian, a message to Muslims. Where's Jordan Peterson's message to the Jews? Jordan Peterson doesn't have a message to the Jews because if he ever gave a message to the Jews, he'd probably be homeless and, out of a job. So it's like, how are you going to give only a message to 2 out of the 3? Why not? What's your message for them? He doesn't complete the trilogy, Jordan Peterson. Complete the trilogy of, your advice to Abrahamic faiths. I don't want, whatever. Someone said he had a message to the CEOs. I don't know who he was talking to, but not me. Here's my message to you. Stop telling kids that benzos and pills are good like you did for 30 years until you figured it out yourself. That sucks, but I'm just saying, you're so smart that you just didn't know Big Pharma was bad. Just like Ben Shapiro, you've been smart, but you just didn't know Big Pharma was corrupt. I mean, Ben Shapiro just got lied to. I mean, who could have known except for anybody with half a brain and especially anybody that does research have you not seen how the whole industry works? But whatever. It's okay to make mistakes. It's not like I'm perfect, but it's like these people, just the audacity. Here's a message to the entire faith that I'm not a part of. I am your leader now. You don't even know what the word do means, bro. You're not my leader. I promise you. Someone said I'm disappointed he's turning out to be a phony. I'm not saying he's a phony. I don't know what I'm really saying. I just don't understand why he moved to America and then supported gun control propaganda. It's like, does that make you a phony or dumb or foolish, naive? I'm not sure, but I'm an American. So if someone moves to America and it's like free speech is bad, I'm going to be like, hey, buddy, welcome to America. Here's why we believe in free speech. And then I'm going to get way more Southern and be like, if you don't like it, get the hell out of here. Because it's America, bro. We don't need more pansy right-wingers that don't believe in free speech. And then the same thing with the Second Amendment. It's like he moves to, I don't know, Tennessee or something. And then he starts falling for gun control propaganda. The minute he gets here, he's like a walking paradox. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to tap him on the shoulder and be like, hey, buddy, This is America. There's a reason for the Second Amendment. If you don't like it, go back to Canada. See, it's not racist because Jordan Peterson's like a white Canadian. But if you said that to someone else, they'd call you racist. But with Jordan Peterson, it's like, no disrespect. It's like, just go to Canada. And you can see what common sense gun legislation looks like. Same with, there's a lot of countries that don't have the Second Amendment. If your big concern is gun violence, get out of America. Go away. We don't need you, in my opinion. There's a lot of countries with common sense gun control. Go there, bro. Especially as a conservative, get out of here. Scram. Am I wrong? I don't know. It's just how I feel. Someone said, I mean, I like right-wingers when they got mad at the bump stock things too. Some people said, well, it's just a bump stock. To a lot of people, it's just a bump stock, but even the precedents of taking away more, like it's always, you very rarely get rights back. I think with guns, people have gotten more rights though. There have been Republicans and judges that have given more people rights, which is actually like shocking because most of the time when they take stuff away, they never give it back. So with guns, it can go both ways. I've seen it go both ways, but in general, even if I don't care about a bump stock personally, it's not going to change my life. If there's a conservative that says, hey, Anomaly, I care about the bump stock and I don't like what he did, I'm good with that. I like a hard line. You know, that's why when I take a harder line than some people, you don't have to agree, but like if I take a harder line on free speech or the Second Amendment, even if it's not your thing, maybe it's time to just appreciate it. The same way I appreciate the gun activist who cares more about like even small infringements that kind of go over my head because I'm not like a bump stock aficionado, you know, where if they care about it, I don't try to stop them and be like, oh, who cares? No, we need more conservatives that care. Bryson Gray took a harder line stance against masks than I did. He wouldn't go on a plane. He didn't do it. I didn't run to him and say, oh, Bryson, just put your mask on and go on a plane. No, thank God we have Americans like Bryson Gray who take a harder stance than me. You know, you should appreciate people that take harder line American stances on important issues. But I find in the movement, a lot of times people cry. They're like, oh, it's like, we need more of that. You know, that's why we're losing so much because nobody cares. You know, we have a bunch of like Ted Cruz's like free speech. Like, bro, you don't believe in free speech. I could prove it, but whatever. Someone said, if you support the Second Amendment and then say, but you don't support the Second Amendment, I mean, there's a lot of that sort of stuff as far as like people that they think they support it, but they don't understand what's going on. It's like with climate change. If I want to get myself in trouble now, you know, they're banning farms, or they're about to ban farms with the government in Netherlands, like 3,000 farmers. They're trying to strong arm them with the European Union's like commie rules. Here's the thing. I want to give credit to the person who told me this, but I don't know if they want their name public. I'll say it a different time. I want to ask them because I don't want to like publicize their name because they're the ones who got me to think this way. Part of me thinks they might want credit for it. Other part of me thinks they might just want to be anonymous about it. But anyway, someone once told me, you know, Anomaly, I went to school for science, and they said one thing that's interesting about the narrative of like pollutant is the fact that these are noble gases, or the fact that this is on the periodic table of elements, depending which one they're talking about. When it comes to nitrogen, if you read the article, why they're banning the farms, they say, well, because of nitrogen rules. They're saying nitrogen's a pollutant. Nitrogen is a periodic element. It's on the periodic table of element. It's an element of nature. And the propaganda is trying to say it's a pollutant. It's always been here. I understand the science and the logic behind, you know, if there's too much of this, the heat will rise. But I'm not even going to say, because I don't know what I can and can't say on this like Facebook psychotic censorship. So, you know, if I want to do a full length, like maybe one time I'll do a whole documentary on climate change, I'll put it on Rumble if I do that documentary, just like the Died Suddenly thing. And the reason I'm not saying it now too is because I don't have the stats in front of my face. I like to have the stats in front of me so they can't say anything. But look up the temperature of the Northern Hemisphere this year. Google Northern Hemisphere cold, Google America. There's been mainstream reports about how cold it is in certain regions, okay? So if all of this is going to lead to heating and then it's getting colder, I understand it gets hotter at some points too, but you know, a lot of this, and when it's all said and done, this is my opinion, which is based on observation. They told us for decades that the Great Barrier Reef was being eradicated. And now the Great Barrier Reef this year is higher than it's ever been. I've covered this a few times, but it's a good narrative to know. There's more of the Great Barrier Reef than there's ever been before in recorded history. And when you read the article, you find out they haven't been recording it for very long. So they've been fear-mongering for 40, 50 years. And then all of a sudden it's at a record high and they say, wow, that's shocking. Yeah, it's shocking because you lied for 50 years saying you know everything about the ocean and you don't know jack. And now that it's up, you're shocked because you don't know jack. Okay, and when you record it for the next 100 years, you're going to realize your narrative doesn't fit reality. Earth and God is bigger than you. Liars. And the same thing with climate. They've been studying it for 100 years, 120 years, 140 years, maybe more, maybe less. I'm not sure. There haven't been scientists all over the earth putting geolocations and coming up with a net sum of everything based on the temperature of everything. They've only been doing that for a short amount of time on a human scale because they only have the technology to do that recently, because back in the day, they didn't even get to these countries in the first place. You know, it took somebody in a certain time to come to this country and to sail here and to sail here and to move here and to figure out this and explore there. They haven't been doing this for all of human nature. So their data points are only usually in the last 100 years or so. And then they have an anomaly, for lack of a better term, and they say, oh my God, that must mean something. It might, you definitely might be right. But then if it goes back down here and, you know, we'll see. But it's another thing that they censor on Facebook and YouTube, etc. And they try to mold the public perception as if the only way to stop this is what they're doing now. They're like terrorizing like Van Gogh paintings and Picasso's. That irks me. I try not to get annoyed by that much because there's so many annoying people out there. If I really wanted to be annoyed with a cell phone in my hand, I could be annoyed all day because there's a lot of annoying people out there. But one thing that's been bothering me to the utmost degree has been these climate activists who are destroying artwork all over the place. It's annoying because these are like do-nothings who would never be as great as a Van Gogh or Picasso or anyone, and they're destroying some of the greatest art in modern history, throwing a fit over a topic they don't even know anything about. It's the most annoying thing to me. I'm like, you guys are such scum. Destroying art to get... Now I despise your movement even more. But I don't despise you for being wrong, because I was once wrong. I despise you for being a terrorist and destroying great human nature. And people don't realize that not a lot of people are building great stuff anymore, because the same way music has gotten stale in a lot of people's opinion, so has building. Why is building getting stale? Because we're selfish, and I believe we're even more selfish than we used to be. Back in the day, rich people would commission great things, great infrastructure, a coliseum, a chapel painting. Like rich people back then understood this idea of beauty, and they wanted to put their money towards something beautiful that they could show. Now it's like, how many condos can we fill in a box shape in order to make as much money off of these people? And nobody's building anything beautiful anymore. They're just building it just to make as much money as they possibly can. And I'm not saying nobody's building something great, but humanity is lacking. You know what I'm saying? The Western world is lacking. That's where I feel like, you know, they hate Russia so much. It's funny because Kanye always talks about Putin and says Putin doesn't like America because they're not Christian. I don't know if that's true, but it's just funny that Kanye is like not crapping on Putin. He's like basically saying he's not that bad. But anyway, if you look up how many cathedrals Russia has built, they've built a lot, you know, and America, we don't have the best stuff anymore. Like everybody knows, I haven't traveled overseas, but I've heard our airports lack in comparison to European airports or Islamic airports. Like, if we're so great, I mean, the nicest airport I've probably ever seen in my life that I was like, what the heck, was, where was I? It was somewhere in Canada. Was it Toronto? No, it was Vancouver. I think it was Vancouver. I haven't traveled that much, but when I went to Vancouver to go on an Alaskan cruise, it was crazy. I was like, dang, this is a huge, crazy, beautiful airport. I mean, it was annoying to stand in line, but it was a cool airport. And it's like, why are we being upstaged from Europe and Canada? Like, why are our airports so bland and lame? We need to build. Um, and then you have these climate activists destroying art. Nobody's building. They're only destroy, destroy, destroy. So, we need to educate the kids. And here's another thing real quick. You can't educate these kids who've been brainwashed by just crapping on them all the time. Like, oh, you're so down. Oh, my God. I don't. Educate them. Show them the light. You know what I'm saying? I don't have compassion for these terrorists. In my opinion, I don't care if they're 21 or 22. I mean, it's unfortunate, but they need to send a message to these people destroying great art, because great art can't be duplicated. It's even more valuable than money, because it's like, I mean, these paintings would sell for tens of millions of dollars, if not more. It's something that can't be replicated, and they're destroying it. In an Islamic country, these people would probably be in jail for life, or, have their arms chopped off or something. I'm not saying for sure. I'm just saying in general. And I'm not saying we should do that, but what I am saying is jail for life. Okay? You do terrorism, jail for life. Jail for life. If these kids are getting out in a week or 2 weeks on parole, they're going to keep destroying art. Put them in jail for life. I mean, I don't know. I don't really have sympathy for that. It's not like they stole something from a corner store. They're running out and doing terrorism on the greatest pieces of art in human history. There needs to be some sort of message sent, or they're going to keep doing it. The airport thing, I heard they tried to shut down an airport too. I mean, these people could get people killed. You know what I'm saying? At an airport, you're going to go terrorize an airport? Like, dude, screw these fake climate activists, brainwashed, lemming, fake Gen Z, millennial wannabe, whatever they are. Stop these people. Someone said, be careful. They called the January 6th attendees terrorists. I mean, in my opinion, that word is overused. I don't know exactly the word, but if you shut down an airport, I don't know, is that not terrorism? What would that be considered? Another crime? If you're destroying art, I don't know what you want to call it, but at the same time, too, there were people on January 6th who did stupid stuff. I'm not going to act like every single person who attended the thing was a terrorist, but if you're banging on doors and the police are telling you to stop, like, you're an idiot. So I know this isn't popular, but just because you're left wing or right wing, even if you mean good, you got to act right. I've been to both protests on both sides, and people don't act right. So it's like, just because they like Trump and they're throwing a fit, it doesn't mean everybody acted right. A lot of people did stupid shit on that day. Not everybody. I think they're overhyping it, but I've seen videos of people climbing through windows, bashing on doors. I'm not going to say it's like a full-blown terrorist attempt or anything, but it's not smart. Like, everybody wants to sugarcoat it and be like, oh, that was fine. Was it, though? It's kind of stupid. But if we want to play make-believe, we can. But, I've seen protests of causes I agree with where people just do really dumb stuff. And they're like, I can do dumb stuff because I'm pissed off. And I'm more like logical. I don't know. God bless my mama. I think she taught me right. Like, I think of my mom looking at me like, you better not walk in that door. You better not do that. And I wouldn't do it anyway, but it's like, I see the trouble. I'm not going to go like emotionally knock something down because I feel a certain way. Like, people do that at both sides of protests, and I think it's not right, Let's see. Just my opinion, though. Who ordered the thing on JFK? That's above my understanding. I don't know. Let's see. Someone said Tim told people to go to January. He made the hype over it. Well, here's another thing, too. It's like, someone said you're blaming the victims. You're a victim if you're sitting in prison and you did nothing and they're trying to say it. I don't believe, and I think people are victims if they don't get a fair trial, and there's double standards, but I'm just telling people to have self-accountability. Have self-accountability. Don't just go somewhere and do something stupid and have no self-accountability. There's dozens of people getting in trouble that didn't do anything. They're the victims, but if having self-accountability bothers you, then I'm sorry. Then go throw a fit and cry and do stuff and act like it's everyone else's fault. That's fine. When it comes to Tim talking about January, this is my perspective on that. 99.999% of people, in my view, didn't know what it was going to evolve into. So, the way the left-wingers are trying to blame Tim for January 6th, I don't believe that Tim knew that people were going to get upset and do this. There had been multiple events that Trump has done, and I believe one in DC, where nothing happened like that. And most of the time, Trump people don't do that. So I don't believe that Tim told people to go there to do that. I think Tim probably just thought it was going to be a protest. With that being said, I didn't go, and I don't know, I didn't understand what people were doing per se, because I was trying to like figure it out, and I'm like, Trump's selling vaccines, and they're like, whatever, and then like Lynn Wood saying stuff, and like people are like, Mike Pence needs to do this, and I'm thinking to myself, like, you're so mad at Mike Pence, but Donald Trump picked Mike Pence. And also, I still believe this, and this is not popular, but I don't care. I'm going to start it off with, I don't trust Mike Pence. I think he hired bad people. I think he was a bad hire. I think his work with the coronavirus task force was evil. I don't like Mike Pence. I like Mike Pence less than Trump likes Mike Pence. I would never choose him. But whatever. He had a good debate versus Kamala Harris. With that being said, Mike Pence was a Hail Mary pass. I've said this before, and I believe it, or else I wouldn't say it. That was a Hail Mary. We didn't win in the courts. We didn't win in the Supreme Court. We didn't get enough irrefutable evidence like quickly enough. I know it's hard to do from November to then. So we're going to go to the streets of Washington, D.C. to listen to what I call Grandpa Moderna, the vaccine salesman, or Old Man Pharma, Donald Trump, Old Man Pharma, who's been lying all year. We're going to go to Washington, D.C. to listen to Old Man Pharma talk and blame Mike Pence, and then we're all going to get upset. That never made sense to me. I'm sorry if people don't want to hear that, but that's how I feel. As an American with a brain who voted for Trump, I didn't understand the dynamic of throwing a fit in D.C., listening to the vaccine salesman point the finger at at Mike Pence. What you want him to send the electorates back? Just be honest. You thought the election was stolen. You're pissed off that it didn't get written back in time, and I understand that. So now you're emotional, and you're going to go throw a hissy fit with the vaccine salesman. That never made sense to me. So I'm not I'm not going to say it's your fault for doing this. There's, in my opinion, 99.9% of people there had nothing to do. And I already know there's organizers and innocent people who didn't do anything who are getting charged for what other people are doing. I don't agree with that. But at the same time, I did see videos of certain people doing stupid stuff, and I think it's stupid to do stupid stuff. You get what I'm saying? So that's just personally my take on it. And I find the whole victim narrative just kind of odd, where it's like I'm trying to work it all in my head even earlier. So it's like, okay, we don't like Mike Pence, but Donald Trump has no blame because he picked Mike Pence, but somehow it's everyone's fault that Trump picked that guy. Like, oh, like he couldn't have picked a better vice president or something. Okay, whatever. We're mad at the mass mail-in ballots because it's a sneaky thing, right? But it's not Trump's fault that the mass mail-in ballots are here, even though he was instrumental in the lockdown, 15 days to slow the spread, and he was way too late on opening the country. In fact, way later than Sweden, way later than Georgia, way later than South Dakota. Trump was late on the lockdowns. He just was. But he has no part in it. It's everyone. Like I didn't understand it then, and I don't understand it now. It's like, if you don't like Mike Pence, this game of pretending like that guy has no part in it, and we just need to like listen to him sell vaccines and cry. I never understood the logic behind it, and there wasn't really logic behind it, which is why a lot of people got set up and misled. So, I'm all for making elections right and more fair and getting justice, but, getting arrested or in trouble or throwing a fit and blaming Mike Pence, that's not, in my opinion, that's not going to solve it. But everyone's entitled to their own opinion and perspective. I just don't want to be like shamed and bullied into feeling like everyone else, because I still don't think it made. Someone said sell vaccines, F off scab. You're calling me a scab now? He literally did sell vaccine. Like, if that makes you mad, then it's a personal issue. Someone said Trump will run as a Democrat. I don't think that's true. That would be crazy, but I don't see that happening. I think he's going to run as a Republican. If he does run as a Democrat, though, I'll remember that comment. Who said it? Let me see. I can't say. Someone said Pence makes no sense. Trump never picked out Pence. Trump didn't pick Mike Pence. Someone picked it for him. If someone picked it for him, how is he even in control of his own administration? This is the part I'm talking about. It doesn't. It just gets kind of stale. let's see. Someone said, "You are a scab. You will not debate me." I don't even know who you are, so I mean, you calling me a scab and just being a dick is not like a enticing way to make me want to talk to you. Like, I don't know who you are or care about you, but anyway. Someone said people make so many excuses. It's all good. It's just I get there's certain things that happen and people get really emotional. At the end of the day, like when something happens and left-wingers get really pissed off, they get like really pissed off for like a week and they get super emotional and they get like erratic and sporadic and then like, you know, they're willing to do crazier stuff. And then 2 weeks later, they're like not as mad anymore. So I've learned to just kind of stay out of people's way because whether it's left wing or right wing, I think left wingers get more emotional, but there's definitely certain things like that right wingers get emotional about too. And there's like a week or two where they're just, you know, emotions are high and they're pissed off. So I'm just trying to stay out of the way. I literally don't know who you are, bro, but sorry if that bothers you. Someone said, I'm real, I'm in debate. I'm going to start reading your comments now, but it's all good that you're real and you want to debate, but like calling me a scab and saying I know who you are, I literally don't. So just stop. Someone said I'm LARPing with a small blank blank. I'm not going to read that, but all right, I'm going to read a few more comments. I'm going to keep it under an hour and a half. Let's see. Anomaly, do I think people should take Milo seriously? I mean, that's for you to decide. I've seen a video of him recently where he said he has a hard drive of everything everyone's ever said, and he's been like recording everybody he's talked to. He's a crazy character, you know? He's pretty wild, and I don't really have advice. Like, if you want to take him seriously, you can. If you like him, if you don't trust him, or you don't take him seriously, you don't have to. So I don't, you know, either way, I don't really care. And my whole take on the Kanye thing and what he's doing, it's not like, I just think Milo's interesting and funny. But as far as like taking seriously, if you like, that's really on you. You know, your intuition, your spirit. I haven't seen everything he's ever done, so I don't really have a good read on it. Someone said, I gotta say your content is so interesting, even the trolls and haters say the whole time. Yeah, I know. It's like, what I remember on Instagram one time, somebody was like, I hate that, like, and then they were there for 2 hours, and I told them I have sympathy for you not liking it. It's like, there's a lot of stuff I don't like. I just don't watch it for 2 hours. So, I was trying to find middle ground. I'm like, if you don't want to be here, you could just click the X. But then they didn't. Someone said, I don't understand hate watching. Well, yeah, I don't really know. I mean, everybody has their own. There are some people who like hate. It's like hate speech. Like sometimes people hate to hear something they don't want to hear, but then they're still watching because they kind of know it's true. Another thing is when you converse with the audience, people are going to be more likely to want to be there because they know you'll read it. There's thousands of shows where the person isn't even there. It's not live and they don't care. So I care somewhat, and I definitely read comments. So at the end of the day, I understand why some people will still be here because they know I'll see it. April said, I think you're a fantastic guy. Thank you, April. I want to say real quick, too, to Facebook and Patreon, I'm going to read aloud just some thank yous. I'm only going to say first names, but to the highest superstars, whatever it's called, the stars on Facebook, whoever's in the top 10, I'm going to read your name aloud. Not your whole name, just first, so you'll know it's you probably if you send a lot of stars. And then I'm going to do all my Patreons and just say thank you to you guys. Thank you, Marshall. Appreciate you. Someone said Tim Pool's getting Kanye, Milo, and Fuentes tonight. It's pretty epic. I mean, I'm excited to see what type of conversation they have. I don't think Tim's going to agree with everything they say, and that's totally fine. I think that's the point of, any sort of debate or convo to some extent. Thank you, Mr. Boston. Appreciate you, my man. Mr. Boston always reminds me of that guy it's an old show with like I Love New York. It was like a Flava Flav like reality show. One of the white guys' name was Mr. Boston. It was really weird. Like he was a very weird guy, or at least he seemed weird on the show. I'm not saying you're weird, but that reminds me of that Mr. Boston, that show. I just always think about it. Someone said my favorite thing is Anomaly calls out Donald Trump's jab sales. I had a convo with Eddie Bravo the other day, and he was saying that he thought that maybe Trump rushed the vaccines in order to like stop a 5-year lockdown. That's one of the biggest theories, is that Trump did all the vaccines really fast because he was trying to like save the world. And I could have been nicer in hindsight. Like I kind of feel bad, but I kind of shut it down where agree to disagree. But to me, like during the 2000s, Republicans were okay with the Patriot Act and the Iraq War because they thought that their guy was doing it. This is the problem with politics. People forget their logic and they just think about people. Oh, I hate Donald Trump and I like Joe Biden, or I love Trump. People don't think anymore. So they scammed us during the Bush administration, and Republicans all fell for it, and they went against their values because they got deceived by the rhetoric and the character. The same thing happened with Trump. Like, this is getting so bad in my perspective that people are willing to say Trump hired a bunch of pharmacy lobbyists and did deals with Bill Gates and Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson. He did this to save the world. Like, that's our party now. We're going to be a Trump idol worship party where we perceive him as this like biblical character that could do no fault. It's crazy. You know, I mean, it's gone nutty. And it's like in 10 years, everybody's going to realize it was wrong, just like they did after, you know, the Iraq War and the Bush era. Doesn't mean everybody's bad or good. It's just like, this is the fundamental problem with American politics, is the left just hates conservatives, hates Republicans, and a lot of people on the right, either they were like overly critical of Trump at weird times, or they just can't admit what he did. Like, if you think Trump partnered with pharmacy lobbyists and did big pharma socialism to give hundreds of millions of people a shot that they had no liability for because it was rushed through, the logic is saying that it was rushed quickly to get it through so they could do it under the PrEP Act. If it would have taken 5 years under trials, the fake theory is that the country still would have been locked down. You would have been locked down for 5 years? That's highly unlikely. Like, what's more likely is the PrEP Act wouldn't have been around, and those vaccines would have had liability. Pfizer would have had to pay for liability. I don't think he rushed them to save the world. I think he rushed them to get the PrEP Act. You know, it all came out under the emergency. And if you noticed, as soon as everybody got the shots and all the narrative fell, then all of a sudden the emergency eventually ends. But during when it all rolled out and hundreds of millions of people got the shot, Pfizer's never going to have to pay $1 for that because the PrEP Act was still around, and it is still around. So, I mean, it's like, you know, I'm not trying to be overly critical, but millions of people are slobbering at this guy's feet thinking that he's working with Big Pharma to save America. Like, that's kind of crazy, you know? And then these same people call Biden supporters crazy, you know, like, oh, you're so crazy because you like Joe Biden. No, they're doing the same thing you're doing on the left, is they're worshiping like hero villain stories over reality. So they're not paying attention to actual policy because they just hate Donald Trump, you know? And then you got people on the other side that just hate the left so much that they don't even care if he does socialism, communism, and, you know, big pharma corruption. It's like they'll make an excuse. They'll be like, it was done to save the world. Like, yeah, and George Bush saved the world with the Iraq War, and, you know, the Patriot Act saved the world because terrorists are really going to come. Like, maybe. Someone said Mike Yoder spilled some gems about the PrEP Act. He's a great guy. He's a friend of mine, and he's a great lawyer. He's doing great work when it comes to the vaccine stuff. That's a good guy. Let's see. Someone said basically any average conservative YouTube channel host would be better than Trump. I mean, I think if DeSantis and Ye run, I like Ye's take on it. He says we like Trump, but we need him to serve America and God. I think that's perfect. In my personal opinion, Trump did a lot of good. I don't want to dislike him, but he's gotten to this point where he thinks he just deserves everyone's loyalty. Even when he does the wrong thing, he doesn't seem like the leader he used to be, where he's like, okay, I'll flip that. It's more like, get out of my way and shut up. You know, shut up. I want to see Kanye and whatever his name is, Ron DeSantis, I want to see them all run. Because I don't think Trump needs a red carpet rolled out for him. I think he needs a real competition. And then we could see who's who. If they're all on the stage, Trump, DeSantis, and Ye, you're going to see who's who. Because, all will be revealed in a real debate. But a lot of us see it. Not everybody agrees. But if you take the energy and the spirit of Trump from 2016 and 2017, 2018, 2019, and compare it to Trump now, he's not the same guy. I don't know if it's age. I don't know if it's donors and lobbyists and, the evil world of politics got to him. I don't know what it is. I have a lot of compassion for that crazy path that he's taken, but he's not the same guy. And it doesn't seem like he's trying to get back to the same guy. It seems like he's trying to gatekeep this new crappier version of himself. And anybody who calls it out, he gets mad at, where it's like, he's not the same guy. And I think Kanye's presence is going to at least, put a little pressure to be that guy. Because, Trump 2016 can beat Kanye in a debate. Trump 2022 is not, Trump 2018 is going to crush Ron DeSantis. Trump now is going to lose to him, in my opinion. We'll see, but it's like Trump can crush if he becomes the best version of himself. If he stays in this new zone he's in, I think he loses to DeSantis if he runs, in my opinion. But someone said, I see exactly what Anomaly's talking about with Trump. I mean, if people really listen, I've mentioned this before, but the movement that we were all, maybe not everybody's a part of it, but, if you liked Trump and you were, talking to people, whether they were truthers or conservatives, Republicans, whatever, the energy was a lot better from 2016 to 2019 because there were no excuses. People don't remember this time, but the excuses were more defending Trump from the media. And it made sense. Like, the media's lying, Trump's telling the truth. The media's lying. All the excuses were righteous. Like, we weren't just lying like, oh, Trump's a dummy, but we like that. No, he was actually crushing. And it was like, I'm going to call out Don Lemon because he's lying about Trump. But after 2021, now MAGA has like these sorry excuses. It's not like, oh, Russia collusion's a lie. It's like, oh, he did all these wrong things, but he's like, it's become like a sorry excuse movement. And it's like, you can act like it's the same energy that we had in 2018, but it's not. It's just not. And this is my truest form of what I'm trying to communicate to people. I might not seem like it to some because I'm just talking about news here, but in my real life, I'm not a jerk. I'm not like a sore loser. But I'm competitive. I'm very competitive because I like to play sports. I like to play chess. I like to learn. Like, I played Bryson Gray in chess recently. You guys know the rapper Bryson Gray. He beat me in chess. He's been playing for 7 months and studying. I've been playing for a month. I came close, but he beat me. And he's like, you're really, really good for just learning. I've watched courses. I've done this. The way you get better at chess is not by acting like you're so good. You got to take courses. You got to really study the game. You can't just play chess and be great. So, but also I beat my friend who's been playing for years. So, I'm pretty good for someone who just started playing a month ago, but I have a long way to go if I want to become like an actual great chess player. With that being said, I don't look at how I challenge Republicans and Trump. Like, I hate Trump or I hate Republicans. I don't like what they're doing, but I want to win. I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose the country. I don't want to lose the First Amendment. I don't want to grow up broke and have the government take 60% of my taxes. And, Governor Abbott says everything's anti-Semitic, so he needs to take away social media platforms. I don't want to live in that world. So I'm not doing this to be mean. I want competition in the Republican Party. I think Trump needs to be challenged. His lack of being challenged is making him a terrible leader and a terrible person. I'm not doing it because I hate him. I'm doing it because I like him and I like the country more than I like the thought of him doing something, but he's not really doing it. Like, I'm not doing this from a bad place. Competition is good. Competition makes you better at anything. Politicians, and Trump included, the last thing they need is a red carpet rolled out for them and you to just say that everything they're doing is great. It's not true. The Republican Party is way off kilter. That's why I love what Kanye West is doing. He's challenging them from an area that they've never been challenged in a long time. It's fascinating. Elon, obviously not who a lot of people like, but he's challenging Apple. I mean, outside of who Elon actually is or what he'll do, he's really doing it. I could have an opinion and you could say, oh, I trust Anomaly so much more, but I didn't buy Twitter. I'm not going to release what they were really doing. I'm not challenging the Apple store with $1 billion. I'm not saying I'm worse than Elon Musk, but he really is doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's like my opinion about what he's going to do doesn't matter if he keeps doing this. And if he flips and does something else, that's what matters as well. But he's out here doing it. I know a lot of people don't trust him, and I don't think you really should, trust him as far as like a long-term solution. But he really is doing it in the present moment, and it's fascinating. And you got to get behind people, in my opinion, when they're doing it to a certain extent. Someone said Elon is a clown show. Someone said Elon's doing some interesting things. I get it's all is well in analysis. I think everybody's. I have a question for Shirley. I mean, I'm not specifically, but she said Elon's controlled op. Wake up. I'm not ruling that out, but here's my question to you. Why is he challenging Apple? Why did he buy Twitter and kick out a bunch of liberals? Why is he saying free speech is important? What? How does this help them? I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying like he's my best friend and he's not going to flip, because I've seen people I like flip already. So I've seen analysts that I thought were super smart flip on a dime. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. I'm just saying what's the benefit of him doing all this stuff and being so transparent? How does that help them? Like, what's his eventual move? Someone said optics, could be. Someone said prevent civil war. That's interesting. I'm reading. I'm not upset. You think he's just trying to like keep it okay? Like the elites came to Elon and said like, yo, people are really getting pissed. Like, you got to come in here and play a role and keep everybody kind of calm. Where do I think all the money came from? His money, companies, subsidies. I'm reading. You got the floor, Shirley, so I'm going to read your stuff. He's turning towards people. People turn towards him. Turn against people. People turn against you. A chip in your brain. He's not putting a chip in my brain. And in my opinion, I don't know this for sure, but this is just my take on it. They always say they're going to go back to the moon, and they never do. Oh, we're going to, we're going to do it again. And the dates just keep going back and back and back. In my perspective with Elon, Neuralink seems to be like that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's like this thing that they're holding over your head, like, oh, this is coming, and it just never comes. The same as like humans are going to live on Mars in 10 years. Oh, sure they are. We haven't been back to the moon in 30 years, but we're going to live there soon. Like, they put out an article saying humans are going to live on the moon soon. Like, how are we going to live there and we haven't even taken a trip back in 30 years? It's almost like I feel that way about Neuralink sometimes. Like, it's this big thing that's right around the corner that might take like way longer than they're saying, but also it could roll out in a week. I have no idea. I'm not afraid of it though. Let's just put it that way. I'm going to say this too and wrap it up, where I like what's happening, but I've learned my lesson, fortunately or unfortunately, over the last couple years with a lot of music artists I like that disappointed me. A lot of actors that I kind of thought were cool that disappointed me. A lot of Hollywood celebrities that I thought were cool that are totally not cool. A lot of athletes. Then it came to politics. I always thought the political system was just super corrupt. And then in 2016, something changed. First I thought maybe Bernie Sanders really is a threat because he's not a Democrat or a Republican, and he's running against Hillary Clinton, who is so obviously not who I wanted. And, I kind of fell for that for a little bit. And then once he bowed out and just became a totally different person, I was like, well, that guy's not who I thought he was. And it wasn't that hard for me to detach from him. Like, a lot of people are still Bernie support. Like, they never got over the illusion. And I'm like, that was wrong. And then I learned about taxes and healthcare and policy. I never knew. I wasn't like a poli-sci wizard. I knew nothing about conservative versus liberalism when it came to government. I knew 0% when I liked Bernie. I didn't know about taxes. I didn't know about government regulations. None of that. All I thought, I was, in some cases, tricked into thinking that Republicans are bad, Democrats are a little better. Like, Democrats care about things and they're younger, and Republicans are the old, rich, evil guy. Like, that kind of was in my head, and then I got over that. And then I thought Donald Trump was the real deal because he started talking like a conspiracy theorist. He started saying a lot of real stuff and doing a lot of real stuff. And I still appreciate some of the stuff he did. And then in 2020, he started selling vaccines and saying lockdowns were better than Sweden. And, things got a little weird. So the point that I'm getting to at this point is with Elon, I appreciate what's going on now, but as far as I would say, him disappointing me or going in the other direction, I wouldn't really rule it out. It's not like something that would shock me if he does something. But for now, I think it's helpful, but we'll see. It definitely wouldn't shock me if it went the other way. So appreciate you guys. God bless you. Have a good one. And I'm going to check out that Kanye stream to some extent. Have a good night, guys. I'll see you soon.